What does the Constitution say about internet speech? Well, unlike broadcasting, internet speech gets the highest level of First Amendment protection in our society. Functionally, when compared to other media systems, broadcasting has the lowest level of actual protection. Internet speech, however, is treated like a traditional newspaper. And that means it has the highest level of protection. Now, there's a discrepancy there, of course, but that's where internet speech comes down. And the reason for this is entirely historical. A man, actually a senator from Nebraska, put a provision into the 1996 Telecommunications Act called the Communications Decency Act. It was an early idea that internet speech should be treated the same way that broadcaster speech would be treated, where things like indecency could be regulated and obscenity would be prohibited. The Communications Decency Act that was promoted by Senator Exon was tested in court in the most important internet law case to date. That is Reno v. ACLU. And what the Communications Decency Act did, and the dispute in the case, is the provision within the CDA that allowed people to be punished because it made it a crime by means of a telecommunications device to knowingly transmit any comment, request, suggestion, proposal, image, or other communication which is obscene or indecent, knowing that the recipient of the communication is under 18 years of age. It was the first attempt to try to police a growing belief that the internet was going to be taken over by pornography. In fact, Exon himself carried around a folder of pornography he printed off from the internet to show to other senators in an effort to get this provision added to the Telecommunications Act. In June of 1997, an almost record amount of time between the time a law goes into effect in February of 1996, Supreme Court hands down a unanimous decision saying that the internet is subject to strict scrutiny. It will not be treated like a broadcaster under the rational basis test. And in fact, because of strict scrutiny, the provisions of the CDA that dealt with indecency and other forms of protected speech, they were overbroad and therefore unconstitutional, which created a really interesting dynamic. You now have media where it can appear in two places, or sometimes more than two places, and it be treated differently under the law than depending on where it is. Reno v. ACLU's key line is about the Communications Decency Act, and it says, sections of the CDA are unconstitutional and unenforceable, except for cases of obscenity or child pornography, because those are unprotected speech, by the way, because they abridge the freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment and are substantially overbroad. The internet is entitled to the full protection given to media like the print press. The special factors justifying government regulation of broadcast media do not apply to the internet. Now, it's a really important point that the court decided this case in 1997 when the internet looked a lot different than it did today. But the outcome of Reno v. ACLU is two parts. Number one, the internet will be treated under strict scrutiny. So under the law, it's basically a newspaper and gets the highest level of constitutional protection from state action for content that appears on the internet. But the other legacy of Reno v. ACLU is that the Supreme Court left a provision of the CDA intact, generally known as Section 230. 230 was designed to protect speech by third parties when it appeared in a posting on a website. So when you post to your Facebook, Facebook is protected for the things that you say. Section 230 is a matter of great dispute right now. In fact, President Trump recently passed an executive order asking the FCC to decide if Section 230 was still valid or if there were ways to penetrate it. But for now, as it stands today, not only did Reno v. ACLU put internet speech at the highest tier of protection under the Constitution, but it also left 230 in place, a mechanism which promotes a lot of speech. And that, my friends, is to be commended. Happy Constitution Day.